News Talk 1150, 97.5 KRMS. This is the Morning Magazine, hour number 2. Already halfway through the second hour. Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? 2 hours of interesting radio is gone. We've talked about a lot of stuff. And as I told you at the beginning of the 9 o'clock hour, for those of you who are still listening, I know that people get in and out of their cars and whatnot, but an eclectic show. We're bouncing all over the place today. We were talking about Islam and diplomatic relations with the Islamic world in the beginning of the 9 o'clock hour. We took a little bit of phone calls. We had a little bit of a discussion. Then we had our financial advisor, Mark House, on to talk a little bit about the stock market, things like that. Now we're having a gentleman on. His name is Carl Gallups. He's been a pastor for 25 years. He's a #1 selling author. And he's here to talk to us today about something interesting, the God particle. Are you there, Mr. Gallups?
I am here. Rich, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's an honor to be with you.
Not a problem, man. I appreciate you helping us out here today. So maybe we could talk to the listeners real quick, and maybe because you could explain this better than I, tell the listeners a little bit about what this God particle is and why this is relevant now.
Okay, yeah, I can give you the 2-minute explanation, and then we can talk as deeply as you'd like about it. But,
beautiful.
At the surface level, the 2-minute explanation is this. For decades, physicists have theorized that ever since the beginning of the universe, what they would call the Big Bang, these atomic particles that emanated from the Big Bang, the subatomic particles, they've asked the question, what was it that gave mass, that enabled matter to develop from these subatomic particles? Because theoretically, when the Big Bang happened, these subatomic particles would have had no mass, and they would have whizzed off into space at the speed of light, and nothing that we now know is real could have been here. So what was it that enabled these subatomic particles to be imparted with mass? And with mass, of course, comes matter, and with matter comes life. So mass is the stuff of life, and for decades, physicists have scratched their heads and said, what in the world did that? Well, a physicist by the name of Higgs in the 1960s, Peter Higgs, theorized that there had to be an energy particle out there. It's called a boson, by the way. You might hear it called Higgs boson. But there might be an energy particle out there that they could get a grasp with that would explain how mass was imparted to the original particles from this explosion. Well, July 4th, just a few days ago, scientists all over the world, physicists all over the world, exclaimed with great joy and glee that we have now found the Higgs boson, or as it's nicknamed, the God particle. Why nicknamed the God particle? Well, that name was given by another physicist by the name of Lederman in the 1990s, who wrote a book called The God Particle. He nicknamed it that way kind of facetiously, and he said that we're calling this unexplained particle the God particle because we can't see it, feel it, we can't find it, it's elusive, but without it, we can't have reality. Well, a few days ago, scientists have proclaimed that they believe they have found it, and now they are beginning to understand how matter and mass could have formed from the Big Bang. Now, I've got to tell you, Rich, this is all fascinating science, and as you can tell, I'm kind of a physics geek and a science geek, But what I would say is, now the atheist and evolutionists are picking up on it and saying, well, see, now that we know what formed matter and mass, now we don't need a God. This kind of explains away the need for God. And so what I have been doing, coast-to-coast interviews, and of course I've written this #1 best-selling book that deals a little bit with this, but what I've been doing in these interviews is, and I've made several videos, by the way, that have gone viral on the Internet about it, but what I've been doing is explaining to people, look, this is fascinating science. It's amazing stuff. And to have this happen in our lifetime is certainly a scientific, magnificent feat. But to discover the energy particle that imparts mass to matter is a huge universal leap from being able to say that we can explain away the existence of God. Let me give you an example. So now we know this energy particle that gives mass to matter. But there are 3 dreaded L words that physicists don't have an answer for, and that the so-called God particle doesn't even come close to explaining. Number 1, life. What gave that matter life? We know that life cannot come from nothing. We know that life cannot come from non-life. Life has to come from life. So what if we found out what gave mass to matter? What gave life to that matter? That's the first L word. The second L word is law. The laws of the universe, Rich, that govern. We put a man on the moon because we understand the laws of thermodynamics and the laws of motion and the laws of gravity. But where do they come from? Where did they come from out of the Big Bang?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please finish. I apologize. Go ahead.
I was going to say because, and I'm almost finished, but I was just going to say because subatomic particles that make up the universe, they operate under laws of their own that do not match the laws of the universe, yet we couldn't have reality or the laws of the universe without the subatomic particles. So where does life come from? Where do universal laws come from? And then the third one is language. Where does the intricate chemical language of DNA and RNA come from that gives us all 20 million species of life, all of their systems, all of their subsystems, all of their sub-subsystems, and all of the tiny living particles that make those sub-subsystems up? Where does life come from? Where do the laws come from? Where does this language code come from? How did all that come out of a Big Bang explosion, regardless of whether we've discovered the energy particle that departs mass to matter? That doesn't even come close to explaining laws, life, and language, which we have to have everything we see before us. Does that help you?
It sure does. That is a lot better than I could have done. Thank you.
I've just done this so much. Perhaps it's coming smoothly, but no, God has given me the gift of taking something extremely complex and making it understandable to the masses. That's why I've written this book. That's why it's an international bestseller. That's why I make these videos and they go viral. I want people to understand the truth. I mean, this is an amazing scientific discovery. I hail it. I laud it. I think it's wonderful. But let's come back down to earth now. Let's don't jump out there and say, oh, now we don't need God anymore. I mean, that's arrogant and ignorant.
Well, that's an important distinction that you make, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here, because, again, the notion to explain away God. Now, even if everything in the world came from this one subatomic particle, this God particle, this Higgs boson, you cannot discount that, like you said, the life, the individual intricacies that make up a person, a spirit, feelings, what's right, what's wrong. And you could make the argument that something had to create that initial particle. And right. So I look at it this way. Tell the people who I want to speak from a believer's point of view and a non-believer's point of view to give a holistic approach here. From a believer's point of view, I understand that there is no way that you cannot believe in the existence of God, and it's actually quite dumb that somebody, just because a wonderful scientific discovery, would even say, well, now we know where everything came from, we don't need to believe in God anymore. And so that, okay, from the perspective of maybe an atheist or a non-believer, maybe the argument is, and maybe you could speak on this to the listeners here, is, okay, this makes sense. I mean, we've seen this in action. Apparently, this is something that we believe to be the creator of all matter, size, density, shape, weight, what have you. And there are so many different religions in the world that, A, how do we know that, one is right, and B, this just goes to show you there is a scientific answer for everything. There are people who believe that. Maybe you could explain that to the listener.
Do you know, Rich, brilliant points. Just brilliant points. You've nailed it. I mean, these are the questions of the ages, and I don't know if you've read my book or not. You sound like you have, but this is the purpose of my book. My book addresses every one of those questions in great detail. If I can just plug it real quick so people can know, it's entitled The Magic Man in the Sky, Effectively Defending the Christian Faith. And the title is a bit provocative on purpose because it comes from the secular atheist argument of, I would rather believe in settled scientific fact than in some magic man in the sky like you Christians do. Well, I use those words and I turn them around on the skeptic and explore it and tear them apart. But I deal with every one of those topics that you just raised. How do we know that the Bible is the Word of God? How do we know that the Christian faith is the only valid faith? How do we know there is a God? Can we prove the existence of God? My book states on the back cover that my book irrefutably proves the existence of God. Now, the word irrefutably is a strong word, and I know that. But the deal is, the proof is before our eyes every day. We watch it on our television sets almost every week. And God said in His Word, thousands of years before it happened, that He would do this one thing. And then He said, by this you will know that I am God and there is none other beside me. And He said, has any other God ever done such a thing? And my book reveals what that thing is, the history of that entire event, and how God said it long before it ever happened. And now we watch it and we deal with it every single week. And my book deals with that as well. So you've asked brilliant
Right.
questions. My book answers them. I can't answer them all in a 3-minute interview here, but again, my book does. It's called The Magic Man in the Sky by Carl Gallups.
Well, we're going to talk about this on the other side. We have to take a quick break, but I think maybe you can address this. It has a lot to do with fear of the unknown. For example, we know, there could be quote-unquote proof of this God particle, as they have coined it.
Yeah.
And there could be proof of, let's say, people, not needing their bicuspid teeth throughout time that we did when we were Neanderthal people. I guess people would make that argument. So maybe fear of the unknown has a lot to do with that thought process. And that's where faith does come in. I mean, faith is believing even though you don't know for sure. It's not that you don't know for sure, it's that you can't prove it, but you know it.
That's right. Well, and also biblical faith is not a blind leap in the dark. I liken it to a child learning how to swim, standing on the edge of the pool. Dad says, jump. Well, you take a leap of faith, but you take that leap of faith knowing that your Father will catch you because you have seen Him take care of you before. And so, yes, the Bible demands an awful lot of faith, but it gives us an awful lot of reason why we can put our faith in the God of the Bible. So you're right, faith is a huge part of it, but it's not just a blind leap into the dark.
Absolutely. Well, we just have to take a quick break. Hopefully you can hang out with us for just another minute or two. We'll talk a little bit about your book on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Again, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is the second hour of the Morning Magazine. We're hanging out here with Carl Gallups, and we're talking about the God particle. And we're talking about the ramifications scientifically and the ramifications religiously. We'll be right back after this. News Talk 1150 and 97.5 KRMS. News Talk 1150, 97.5 KRMS. We are speaking with Carl Gallups. He's our guest here. We're talking about the God particle, or Higgs boson, the discovery that people are now touting as the atom that is the basis for all shapes and sizes within the universe. And some people are touting it that it is the dream, that it is a dream. This is a quote from the Los Angeles Times. It's a dream to find an ultimate theory that explains everything. And so Mr. Gallups is with us, and we're talking about, does it actually explain everything?
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Rich. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, does it explain everything, and is it this ultimate theory that people have been so dying to hear?
Yeah, well, again, we have a little delay in the phone, so I'm sorry that I overspoke you there. That's interesting. See, this is why I'm speaking so loudly about this. I'm hailing it as a wonderful discovery of science, if in fact they have discovered it. Now, if you'll really read deep in the articles, you'll see that they eventually get around to saying they think that they have discovered it, and it's going to take decades more research to really make sure. But they're closer now than ever before. So I'm hailing it as a wonderful, scientific, marvelous discovery. But as you just read, we now have made the discovery that explains everything, and that's so arrogant. That's so ignorant. Because as I just said, I gave you the three dreaded L words that it does not explain, and these three L words are the entire stuff of life. Number one, life itself. So there was a Big Bang. So atoms collided and mass was given to matter. Where did life come from? Okay? I mean, life doesn't come from nothing. Life cannot come from non-living material. Laws. Where do the laws of the universe come from? The atoms didn't give us the laws of the universe, in that the atomic law is completely different from laws that we have, like laws of gravity and motion and thermodynamics. Atoms are not subject to those laws. So where did the laws of the universe come from? And then number 3 is language. Where did the chemical encoded language of DNA come from that imparts life? And how does it know to impart 20 million different species of life with all their systems and subsystems? So no, this discovery is awesome, but it certainly doesn't even come close to explaining, quote, everything. Now, they're probably just playing on words because physics is often said to be the study of everything. And that's kind of a cute way of saying that physics is the study of subatomic particles to universal heavenly bodies and everything in between. So physics is the study of everything, and this discovery, they're claiming, is the discovery that explains, quote, everything.
Well,
but actually, it doesn't even come close.
Well, we have we have just under 2 minutes left, but I wanted you to also tell everyone about your book again. But the last question I wanted you to answer is, going under the presupposition that this is the coveted and what we've been looking for, this God particle, and how it doesn't explain necessarily everything. Some people feel that way, some people don't. From your perspective, what would the significance of finding the atom that created all shape and matter mean to somebody who is of a religious or Christian faith? And what should somebody who is religious take from that?
Yeah, brilliant question. Absolutely astute. The answer to that is simple. We have discovered another one of the unbelievable, intricate tools that God used and that uses in creation. For example, the discovery of DNA and RNA was amazing. I mean, it just brought us closer to understanding how complex life is and how awesome God is. The discovery of this Higgs boson, this energy particle that imparts mass, is another wonderful discovery of how unbelievably intricate and awesome and huge God is. It's another one of the tools that God used to pull it all together. I mean, that's the obvious theological explanation to it.
I just wanted you to weigh in on that. Well, listen, let everyone know again where they could get your book, the name of your book, and all the pertinent information.
Thank you. My name's Carl Gallups. The book is called The Magic Man in the Sky, Effectively Defending the Christian Faith. It's a #1 bestseller on Amazon. You can get it immediately right now, Amazon.com. Just put my name in there, Carl Gallups. You can go to carlgallups.com, find out everything about me and my radio program, my ministry, my books, everything. And you can get the book in any bookstore. I mean, you walk into any bookstore and get it. It's a #1 bestseller, and if they don't have it, they can order it for you. So, but if somebody wants to order it right now, very quickly, Carl Gallups, Amazon, and it's Kindle and hardcover, and you can get it in Nook as well.
Well, Carl Gallups, again, Gallups, just for people listening, spelled like Gallup poll, just so people, they may be confused.
With an S on it, though, Gallups.
Right, absolutely, Gallups, Gallups, absolutely. Well, Mr. Gallups, thank you very much. You've been a fantastic interview, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Oh, Rich, I'd be honored to come back. Please ask me, and God bless you, and thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you as well. Well, that was Carl Gallups. We will be right back, taking the final break, wrapping this.
The Washington Times calls it a must-read book, a muscular defense of the Christian faith, an arsenal of powerful rebuttals against Christian bashers. Amazon Books calls it a #1 bestseller. I call it blessed and used by the Lord. Considering the times in which we now live, you need this book. Available at Amazon.com and the WND Superstore.